All right, we are live. So welcome back to DApp University. So today is a critical day for the entire crypto space. I'm going to talk about that, what you need to know, because this could really affect the trajectory of where this entire space is headed in terms of the adoption of the technology, the regulations, what that could mean for, just the entire space. So we're going to about that. We're going to look a lot at the news updates that have happened in the space since yesterday, answer some of your questions, take a quick look at the crypto markets, and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We've got Above Reality, Automatic Beats, technically Ethan, Vale. Let's see here, Anthony, Devin Shu, I hope I'm saying that right. Norris, let's see here, Crypto Cows, Oleg, welcome, Xavier. All right, so today is a critical day for crypto, the entire space, okay? So why is that? Well, hear me out here. We have something going through the EU Parliament today, talking about the status of proof of work mining. All right, so you might think, okay, why does that matter? Well, it could affect major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, okay, the acceptance of those things by entire jurisdictions, and that could cascade towards other cryptocurrencies. Like if we start a proof of work, who's to say that's not going to eventually, go to proof of stake? And we could be seeing lots of things in here that are stated in these potential policies that aren't actually reflecting the underlying intentions, okay? So this is huge for the entire crypto space. So let's kind of break in the details. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. This is supposed to happen today. We're going to be following this live as it's happening. And so I want to point out everything that you should check out. So limiting proof of work crypto back on the table as EU Parliament prepares virtual currency vote. So a provision looking to force proof of work cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin to switch to more environmentally friendly proof of stake consensus mechanisms is a draft up for vote today. That's today. Today is a critical day for crypto. So really quickly, just setting the stage here. What does this mean? So, of course, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. How does Bitcoin work? It uses miners, okay? Miners are the people that run the blockchain whenever you send cryptocurrency from one wallet to another. The miners are the computers, people who run the computers in the middle that, basically finalize those transactions, include them on the blockchain, and they get paid in new Bitcoin plus your transaction fees for doing that, okay? And they use this thing called proof of work to mine the Bitcoin. Now, proof of work has been firmly in the crosshairs of lots of people over the past year for a while now, but really in full force over the past year because people see proof of work as not very environmentally friendly. Now, I'm not going to get off in the weeds on all that. There's lots of people think that's not even true, or whether that, there's also the argument that the amount of energy that Bitcoin uses compared to the savings that it would get from using other alternatives. Like I said, there's a whole different argument there, but it is firmly in the crosshairs of people who do not like it for this reason. And we've seen lots of legislations come out and say, hey, we want to get rid of proof of work mining. It's not good. And so therefore, we're going to put Bitcoin in our crosshairs and potentially other cryptocurrencies as well. All right. So that's the first big thing to understand. So proof of work is something that we're basically trying to say, hey, we want this to happen, so you got to switch something else, like proof of stake. So there's other blockchains around proof of stake. Currently, Ethereum works on proof of work. It's moving to proof of stake. Most like layer one smart contract platforms that are trying to come out as alternatives like Ethereum and others definitely don't use proof of work. Most of them use like proof of stake or delegated proof of stake or some sort of like hybrid model, right? So proof of work is not something that many new projects are working on, and lots of regulations are saying basically, hey, you guys switch to this proof of stake thing. Well, it's never going to happen in the Bitcoin community anytime soon. I'll put it that way. I think it can never happen, but there's lots of people who just think, no, Bitcoin is complete. It's not going to change in this way. We're not going to make some fundamental change. And so, what are the only options? Well, let's take a look at that. So what you need to understand about this is that, this is going through regulation. This is going through a vote today, and we don't know if this is something that's going to essentially stop at proof of work. Okay, I want to pull this up. Actually, this is a take from Jake Stravinsky. I follow him on Twitter. He's had a lot of really good takes on the crypto space, especially in terms of regulation and what's going on with, policy, all this type of stuff that goes through. So this is a pretty good take. It's basically, make no mistake, if they manage to ban proof of work, they'll come for proof of stake next and every other Sybil resistant mechanism after that. This isn't just about the environmental impact. It's about the right of non-state money to exist. So the strategy is to divide and conquer. So let's not fall for it. So I thought this is a pretty good take in the sense of, like I said before, you have basically this idea that proof of work is sort of the boogeyman for environmental impact, but we don't necessarily know that's the real reason. That basically that could be the stated claim to sort of spearhead this that is politically convenient and resonates with other people. Say, yeah, get rid of this Bitcoin thing, but that there's actually something, a deeper intention behind this that would cause this to potentially go through. So let's look at the status of this, all right, to see what's the likelihood this would pass? What would be the implications of this? So basically, I'll pull up a different article on my screen here. So basically, we have two different versions. We have multiple versions of the bill as it's being proposed right now. Again, this is proposal. It's supposed to go through today. We're going to have a vote on it to see what the next steps are past that. That's why I say you really got to watch this. We're going to keep you all live updated on this. But we've seen some, a previous version of this framework contained a strongly worded provision that proposed a prohibition of crypto services that rely on environmentally unsustainable mechanisms like, Bitcoin back in starting for January 2025. So the provision was later scrapped following industry backlash. Okay. So basically, we have a new set going forward. And it seems like we keep getting mixed messages about what's back and forth. Like, we don't know which one's going through. There's, this one got changed. We've seen different news stories say that, we're going to vote on one that doesn't have the proof of work language in it. But I believe Walshy said he saw something earlier that was a new proposal. That seems like the latest status is that we are voting with the language in there. Did you see that, Walshy?
Yeah, there was a little bit of obfuscation. So they removed the actual portion of the bill that specifically stated proof of work. But then according to Patrick Hansen from Unstoppable Finance, who I've met, he's a really sharp fella, he said that they introduced a new language that was just run about in the way that it mentions that it doesn't say proof of work specifically, but it was very run about. It said that, and I don't have it specifically in front of me, but basically that if it doesn't fall within what was already alluded to in the, if cryptocurrencies don't fall within what was already alluded to in the bill, then they would qualify for sanctions, or they would qualify under the bill as being banned rather than sanctions. And so it's just a runabout way of explaining it. It's not specifically stating a proof of work now. Instead, it just says it has to fall under the compliance stated by the bill, which essentially is the same thing, according to Patrick Hansen.
I see what you're saying. So I can hear Walshy. Okay, I think you might be a little bit frozen on my stream here. Let me, Walshy, I'm going to remove your camera and then add you back on. Hold on a second. All right. So let's try that again here. Can you hear us okay, Walshy?
Yep. Loud and clear.
Awesome.
I see myself.
Yeah. We froze there for a second on the stream. I was checking the public YouTube stream too. It looked like it kind of froze out for a second. Okay, so the results should be posted around 5 to 6 p.m. Let's see here. CET. Central European time. That's what I was thinking. I was going to say what the abbreviation was. So let's see. Central European time. Let's see. Central European time to where I am now. It's about 6 hours ahead of where I am now, I think. It's about 6 hours ahead. So we should find out pretty soon. Yeah, the next few hours. We should find out the result of this. So
the fake news or whatever, people are getting conflicted just because some people are saying that the bills, has the proposed proof of work ban in it, and some people are saying that there isn't the proof of work ban in it. And the facts are that the clause was removed. And again, Patrick Hansen looked into it and did some deep diving and found that there was language that essentially, again, in a runabout way, still says that cryptocurrencies have to abide by the compliance, initiated or implemented by the bill itself. So in a very runabout, just offhanded way, just very misdirect way, it's still in there in a manner of speaking. So there's a lot of people getting it wrong on Twitter right now. Like literally just checking right now, 5 minutes ago, sorry, Dennis Porter even said that it was removed.
Yeah.
Which is wrong.
So basically, the other thing you got to watch out for, definitely watch out. We see lots of misinformation spread on Twitter like crazy. If you stay on Twitter very long, you're going to very quickly find that a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. So definitely pay attention for that. The other thing to watch out for is the last thing I saw on this was basically that it looked like it was leaning in the direction of a slight majority in favor of the ban. Was that what I was seeing, Walshy?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so this is going to be critical. Now let's talk about, what could the outcomes of this be in terms of, do we have 100% clarity on the extent to which this applies is my question. There's a lot of ambiguity from what I understand in reading the bill.
Yeah, and I haven't read the bill specifically, so I can only provide speculative answers in this regard. From what I have read and what I've seen online on Twitter, it is, like you said, very ambiguous, very vague in terms of like what is and what is constitutes as like environmentally dangerous and environmentally unfriendly and unsafe. So, I mean, when you think about the implications of this, I like Jake's take where, it starts here at proof of work. Where does it end? It's more of an affront to sovereign money, citizen created money, as opposed to government issued money. I mean, you follow that trail, it leads to very dark, dangerous areas, right? And so that's why this is just so crucial, because this really sets the precedent of like how we're going to approach these things moving forward.
Yeah, totally. And I guess also from my read on everything, that the further ambiguity is how far does this apply? Are we just talking about people who are running validators? Are we talking about people, in every sense that are just holding the cryptocurrency, making transactions with it? I've seen like some provisions about things that were implemented before this goes into effect. I mean, do you have any more clarity on that?
Unfortunately, no, not right now.
Yeah,
No,
I think that's the real frustrating thing about this is everybody's just in the dark. Is that we have this thing that we know is coming down the pike that, we kind of have a vote on, and we don't exactly know the extent to which it could apply, who it's going to apply to, and that it's just, getting it's just moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. And like what constitutes is like the environmental damage that they're really looking for. Like how damaging does it need to be, right? And like to your point earlier, there's even there's two sides to the equation of like, are cryptocurrency, is proof of work really bad for the environment when you compare it to other industries and stuff of that nature? So it's pretty unclear right now as to how this will really affect the entire industry if this gets passed and what the next steps are going to be.
Yeah, totally. And so, we've seen similar. I'm trying to think here. I'm going to pull myself back up. I'm going to take Walshy out, moving back in. Let's see here. So we've seen like different policies, kind of go through, different language in the United States for sure. Like we've seen the infrastructure bill kind of get drafted with some language about crypto, basically, trying to classify certain people as brokers. And there's intentionally, well, I don't want to say intentionally, I want to prescribe too many intentions where it's not clear. Okay. But what looks like very vague language that, is very vague language that could apply to lots of people to classify you as a broker, to say, well, now you have to be tax compliant. And so that could be something where, everybody who has any stake in crypto, whether it's like you're a validator, a miner, a developer, anybody who uses or has a decentralized finance application, could potentially have to, issue 1099s to comply with taxes. Okay. But we got like further clarity on that. That's like, yeah, it's ambiguous, but hey, with pinky promise, we're not going to make people do that. So, That's definitely not my that's not the best outcome in my opinion, because then you're just like totally relying on them just not enforcing something that could be enforced, right? But we could see a similar type of thing happen here, where we have just this really vague intentional language that's kind of like power play, but then we might get some clarity kind of later that hey, we're like, for example, like, hey, yeah, we're gonna basically issue some really strong regulations around proof of work mining cryptocurrencies, right? But you don't know what that means. Is it just the miners? Are you saying they can't operate in your jurisdiction? Or are you saying that anybody like who is in your jurisdiction cannot make transactions on that, right? The language could be ambiguous to the extent where you can't discern that from the language itself, okay? But then they could come out and say, well, we just mean miners, like miners can't operate here or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but that's sort of the cliffhanger that we're on. And today we're going to watch what happens. Definitely be following us. We're going to be covering this live. As soon as we find out, we'll probably talk about getting our live stream tomorrow, because it's definitely something big to watch out for. We also got a lot of other critical stuff coming out for crypto this week. Of course, we got the Fed meeting. I'm seeing more and more things about some potential updates about what's happening with the conflicts in Ukraine and Russia. Again, it's hard to know really what to make of all that. Again, we'll be very sensitive to that. I know people who are very affected by this situation. There's a lot of misinformation about that out there, a lot of propaganda floating around too. So it's hard to know exactly, what could happen there over the coming weeks. But this is a big week for crypto, especially with the Fed meeting coming up. Let's talk about some potential outcomes for the space, maybe over the next couple weeks. So some of this is going to be complete speculation. All right. Do not claim to be any type of expert on short-term, outcomes, because the future is so insanely hard to predict. The world's a very complicated place. But let's talk about, some potential outcomes here. So we got this, coming down the pike. We've got the Fed meeting this week. And of course, we've got sort of what's happening on the geopolitical scene. So actually gotta just pull this up here. Hope it really crude. Just kind of take a quick crude look at the crypto markets here. So what could potentially happen in the next couple weeks? We could get clarity on what's going to happen with this proof of work mining ban. That's definitely a thing that I think people are kind of concerned about. Let's talk about also the Fed meeting. Okay, so the Fed meeting's happening this week. We're getting clarification on most likely what the Fed's going to do with interest rates. Okay, I think that basically people are know that interest rate hikes are coming. The question is, are they going to follow a predictable schedule that everybody thinks that they're going to? Yeah, I think most people are anticipating a quarter basis point hike announced after this meeting. Okay. So, if basically, I'm going to put a big question mark on what's going to happen with, this proof of work mining ban. We'll have to just wait and see. I'm going to let's just assume that, basically the interest rate hikes with the Fed meet people's expectations, and there's not something like we don't see double hikes or something like that, or some other sort of curveball. That could, potentially ease people's minds about a lot of things, that at least things are going like they expect. And then, let's just assume that things don't get worse than they already are, with sort of the international conflicts going on. Again, I don't have any special knowledge about that. I don't claim to be an expert in those topics, but let's just say that those types of things happen. Then we could start to see sort of like the peak fear that everybody is kind of living in right now potentially starts to subside. As we have a scenario like that, where at least some things meet our expectations, some things aren't maybe as bad as they could possibly be. Okay. And then, the third one's a wild card. So if we're in kind of that area, we could be close to kind of the peak fear, or might be behind us at that point. All right. Now, some of that's really speculation. Again, don't claim to be an expert. in what's going to happen next. Almost everybody who tries to be is quickly humbled. All right. But just kind of thinking through all those factors, those are definitely the factors on the table right now that are causing a lot of fear across the world.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to weigh in on the markets right now and how to invest. Just invest wisely, everybody. Who knows what's going to happen if proof of work gets banned? Bitcoin most likely will drop. If it doesn't get banned, it might go up. It might continue to crab.
Yeah, it might
stay
go up,
conservative
down, sideways,
right now.
right?
Yeah, it just might keep doing its thing. I would stay if I was investing right now, which I'm not. I would be very conservative in my choices of what I'm choosing, which coins to go into, and to make sure that they're not really reflecting what's happening on a geopolitical stage. If you are investing in the larger coins, it's a risk. It's a gamble. Take your bet.
Yeah. So basically, in my sort of projection about where I think the space is headed over the next months, years, it's hard to really tell on a month by month timeline. I mean, my longer term time horizon for where the space is headed doesn't really. It really hasn't changed that much with the recent events. I mean, we've definitely taken a detour right now that I think is highly influenced by the big factors like the world events, the Fed, all this type of stuff. What's going on with inflation? Just the entire global scene. Like everybody, no matter what industry you're in, is fighting an uphill battle. Is like pushing into a headwind. I mean, we've seen the S&P 500 down. I think it's like 13% year to date, something like that. Lots of other. Just it's all the metrics are bad. You know what I mean? So it's not a crypto specific problem. So when you zoom out and see all this stuff, it's not like, it's not a crypto issue. You know what I mean? It's a everything issue. And so if you took the everything issue off the table, the bigger, broader trend of crypto still is strong. And honestly, like, it's pretty impressive how resilient crypto has been with everything that's happened. So that's my take on it. And my bigger thesis about, network adoption being a key driver for what's going to happen with cryptocurrency prices long term. Those metrics still look strong. So actually I pulled this thread. Something watches a little frozen there. I'm gonna try to pull him back on. Let's see here. See if I can get him back here. I want to pull up this thread the other day actually talking about this. So I've examined some of these in the past, talking about sort of network adoption being a pretty important part of cryptocurrency prices, basically in a sense of, the more people are a part of the network, the more you're creating technology that has actual benefits, okay, the more that creates demand for the cryptocurrencies, okay, and that increases the network effect. The more people are on the network, the more useful they become, the more reason you want to hold them. Basically, the more users there are, the more applications, the more you want to do stuff with it, and that increased network effect can actually have an exponential, value accrual to the cryptocurrencies themselves. And so, I've shown some analysis by Raoul Pal about this, from Real Vision Finance. He's done a great job of kind of breaking this down. And actually, I'm going to put out a new model that he was just talking about. That illustrates this pretty well. It's pretty compelling. So basically, a third about network effects and how to value digital assets. So for global macro investor, I spent a long time analyzing various chain data sets to see what the key drivers were in the network price and the network effects. So basically, they updated their well-known chart for crypto adoption versus the internet adoption, both starting at 5 million users. So basically, you take the growth of each, wherever they started at 5 million users, that's your starting point for comparing the two. So it's sort of like thinking a critical mass about where the trends start to look like it makes sense to start comparing them. So 2021 was an accelerating growth year. And the Reed's law effect of networks built upon networks creating even more exponentially is clear. Exponentiality is clear. Okay. So basically, But year 6, after the first 5 million users, crypto has 295 million participants and the internet had 119. So crypto is growing 137% a year, while the internet grew at 76%. So still about twice as fast, a little less. As I always say, this is the fastest adoption technology in the world's ever seen. You can actually see that here. Okay. So if daily active users slow their growth to that of the internet's initial growth rate, you get 1.2 billion users by December 25. Or if we assume the first 6 years rate of growth, the internet would get about 2.5 billion users, okay, shown on linear scale for dramatic effect. So you can see the divergence here. Okay. So this is like the optimistic growth rate of crypto. This is a more conservative growth rate of crypto. And this is basically like what we know how fast the internet grew. Okay. So either way you slice it, like we're still talking about some pretty impressive outperformance.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, totally. So,
hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just sent you this on Telegram. They just actually finished the vote, and it was rejected. So 32 against, 24 in favor.
Crazy.
That's huge. That's
all right, everybody.
Huge.
We're gonna go back to our analysis here in a minute, but yeah, it's good. So breaking the committee of the EU Parliament just voted against the de facto proof of work ban. 32 against, 24 in favor. Crazy.
Yeah. So
you have it, everybody. We found it live on stream.
Exactly. Not financial advice, but
yeah, not financial advice.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, not financial advice, but this is a good thing. All right. So this is pretty crazy to see. Amidst speculating about what's going to happen, is this going to pass or not, and then we get some clarity right here. So, big relief, political success for the Bitcoin crypto community in the EU. We'll share a breakdown of the vote and what's here in this new thread. So definitely check back tomorrow. We're going to talk about this. We're not going to end the stream just yet. I want to get back to this network adoption thread and actually talk about some other stuff. So this is good. All right, now talk about our speculations about what could happen. Next, we have one boogeyman sort of out of the way. All right, actually, we're going to see what's happening with the crypto price in the short term after this. We got one boogeyman out of the way. The other thing that's good is, like, we saw the executive order for crypto come out from United States with Joe Biden. That also was a good thing, in my opinion. All right, people talking about the U.S. want to be a leader in the digital asset space. You see that's a massive change in messaging. You see the EU definitely not voting to ban proof of work. Also a good thing. Crypto regulation is a massive unknown for this entire industry. And as we get these types of clarity, this type of clarification, it's going to be really big for other people who are going to get into the space. Okay. So this is big win, caught live on camera here, everybody. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, for freedom, for the
LFGs in the website. I mean, in the chat there.
Yeah, all Europeans sounded off.
yeah. We're gonna keep it family friendly in the stream here, but yeah, okay, that's awesome. I definitely want to check and see what happened to the crypto price. Like, while we're talking about it, probably like nothing.
Yeah,
like a slight pump.
Yeah,
that's kind of what's happening right now. Yeah. Definitely not financial advice. We're not telling anybody to like open up massive leverage longs here or anything. Yeah. So anyways, let's go back to the adoption. Because I definitely want to talk about this. So we're talking about the technology that's growing way faster than the internet. Let's talk about actual valuations. Okay. And this is something that's a compelling idea. I'm not saying that this is necessarily something that I like hold to as gospel or anything like that, but it's a pretty compelling idea about how you value cryptocurrencies. People ask all the time, hey, what's the fair value of Bitcoin? How do you know that, right? What's the fair value of ETH? How do you know that? Well, he actually proposes a model here for that. So the value of digital asset networks is driven by daily transaction volumes in dollars or units of value, okay, by the number of active users. So let's say, let's say the Ethereum blockchain settles over 1 million transactions per day. And then, you basically take, all those transactions, multiplied by the amount of value settled by each transaction. So let's say one transaction was for $1,000, the next one's for $10,000, next one's for $1 million. All right, so you add all those together. You add all those transactions together, what their value is, and then you multiply that by the number of active users. And so doing that, you basically create a formula that says like, okay, here's what the network is worth at any given point in time, and here's what it looks like compared to the price. And so it's a pretty compelling model when you look at it. Okay. Basically, the Bitcoin market cap to the global network value model, which is kind of what he calls this. Okay. They track pretty well. Here it is for Ethereum. Okay. It's a little more divergence, but it's pretty close. By this model, basically, yeah, you can see those. It works for Ripple, works for Polkadot. So yeah, I think it's super, super interesting. Super compelling idea if you want to kind of take a look at, what the market caps look like relative to the actual adoption. Because at the end of the day, that's what I focus on is the adoption of the technology itself, the use cases. I think that generally over time, as those things improve, that the price will be correlated with that. Now, whether or not every single model that tries to explain that tit for tat, is going to be 100% right, it's hard to know, right? But it looks like the general direction of things. So the reason that's important, the reason I say all that is because we have all this crazy headwind about what's going on in the world right now. We've got, crazy, wars happening in Europe. We've got, all these regulatory, stuff coming at us. We've got supply chain issues. We got interest rate hikes. We got inflation. We got all this crazy stuff. I'm still laser focused on the fundamentals, which is basically the technology moving forward. The use case is growing, everything expanding, because in my opinion, at the end of the day, that's what's going to ultimately matter for the value of the networks themselves. And also everybody who wants to, it's a win-win for everybody watching this channel who wants to break into space. That's where the demand for talent comes from, which is ultimately what we want to help you do on this channel, is acquire those skills, be a valuable member of the crypto space, because that's one of the best ways to make a huge life change, is to actually, jump in and participate.
Yep, couldn't have said it better myself. That was awesome. Well said there, sir. Flash news.
Yeah, let's do some flash news real quick. So we didn't get to so many questions today. We'll try to do some more questions tomorrow. It's a pretty big day with all the announcements. But yeah, let's go do some flash news, and then we'll roll here for today.
All right, guys. So flash news. So Austin, Texas' mayor announces the city is embracing crypto and Web3. And so the entire city is going to incorporate like payment structures and all this other stuff. It's really cool. Biggie Smalls is getting an NFT collection. It's called One Of. And One Of is launching Biggie T's NFT collection. So Biggie Smalls NFTs. DeFi Kingdoms is announcing its own blockchain. So it's going to be on its own separate chain. Quite excellent. FTX Europe and Tomorrowland, which is like a dance festival, announced an NFT partnership. So just getting more exposure to the masses. Polygon had an issue this weekend, but it came back online after just a multi-hour outage. Japan has ordered its exchanges to comply with Russia's sanctions, kind of going hand in hand, Gregory, with what you were saying about just uncertainty in the world, right? Japan's in now. Mila Kunis, an actress, is her own NFT cartoon series, which is kind of cool. The reason I implemented this or included this is because the users can vote on how the series actually progresses. So that's kind of interesting and new. I haven't seen that one before. And then lastly, Avagachi, which is Abe's NFT GameFi metaverse, is going to be releasing this at the end of this month on March 31st. It's called Gotchiverse. So kind of fun there. A little bit of GameFi.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, everybody. That's all we got for today. If you got anything you want to talk about, you can check out Walshy's Twitter handle. You can submit anything right there. If you're as fast at this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? When you go to my YouTube homepage, you can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I should become a blockchain master step by step, start to finish, over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You have to be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.